Well, cryptocurrency donations to Ukraine have topped $55 million amid the war with Russia, based on data from blockchain analysis provider Elliptic. The donations also prompt an urgency for enhanced cybersecurity, considering the history of Russian hackers targeting cryptocurrency wallets and exchanges. Here to help us break down this is Jill Gunter, who is the Chief Strategy Officer over at Espresso Systems. Jill, great to have you here with us today. First and foremost, we got to tackle how the case for crypto has evolved amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, crypto has been getting a lot of attention amidst the geopolitical strife of the last few weeks, certainly with Russia and the Ukraine. But even before that, what with the Canadian crackdowns on the protests going on up there, and the crackdown that followed by Canada on the financial system and people's ability to access it. And that's not even to mention the inflationary dynamics that we're seeing here in the United States. And all of these things are combining to shed a spotlight on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies more broadly, as we see a lot of these narratives that we've heard for years around these assets seemingly come to fruition in the larger global context.
And so with that in mind, and what I mentioned a moment ago, Russian hackers who have a history of targeting cryptocurrency wallets and exchanges, how has this prompted or renewed attention around security in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so I mean, security is always an issue with cryptocurrency. You know, we're talking about assets that are bearer assets, which means that they're the equivalent of having cash in a safe, right? You know, if someone comes in and takes it, you're not going to have the same recourse that you'll have if you're relying on centralized third parties and intermediaries like banks and so on. And so that's always a consideration. But what's different about the situation with Russia and Ukraine right now is you're seeing a lot of politicians casting a spotlight from both sides on the dynamics at play. And so in particular, what you're seeing is a lot of people trying to cast cryptocurrency as a means by which Russia might be able to evade sanctions. That's a narrative that is out there in the world that I want to clarify is not founded really upon any facts that we've seen come to light so far. And in fact, the acting director of FinCEN even just came out today and said that they haven't seen any evidence of that. But then on the flip side, we are seeing real meaningful use of cryptocurrency in order to make donations, as you mentioned at the top of this segment, to Ukraine. And so it's kind of both sides of the aisle in the political sphere in the United States are trying to use this to cast their own narrative around the technology.
Have the recent cases of international conflict prompted any type of kind of renewed discourse or discussion around cryptocurrency as an accepted tender? And what type of regulation do you believe will also be necessary to advance that?
So the thing that people need to remember is that cryptocurrency is already regulated. It's taken us a really long time to get to points of clarity. And in some cases, there still is not sufficient clarity, at least here in the United States, around how cryptocurrency should be classified. You know, are we talking about property? Are we talking about securities? Each enforcement agency has kind of wanted to lay claim to them. And that has been an emergent picture over the last 5 years. But it's important to remember that, again, cryptocurrencies are already regulated. They're regulated by many bodies here in the United States, and they're regulated by many bodies globally. And so it's not as though, you know, whatever Biden is signing into law or whatever is coming down the pipeline is going to be a fresh first crackdown of sorts. Rather, I think of it as a part of what's been an emerging picture of clarity, which the industry really does welcome from a policy and regulatory perspective.
Something that Espresso Systems directly delves into is the transactions fees side of cryptocurrency and broader blockchain transactions. Are we any closer to seeing kind of sustainable solutions in mitigating some of the expenses on the transactions fee side?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, in order to see any of this go mainstream, and that's in terms of use cases for payments, remittances, cross-border donations, again, as we're seeing now, DeFi use cases, we think that there really need to be two breakthroughs still. One is breakthrough that will unleash broader access to these systems, to these products, and that comes with lowering fees. And we're seeing there a lot of progress being made in the space, and we're excited to be able to contribute to that. And then we also believe that privacy is going to be an important factor at play here, where today we are disclosing every single trade transaction that we make publicly. We're, disclosing our entire net worth publicly in some cases by using these open blockchain systems. And while we don't necessarily believe that privacy wholesale is the solution, we believe in a better balance and more flexibility in approaching that as a problem.
Jill, I got to hustle to my finish here and only have about 30 seconds, but I do want to know, this $32 million raise most recently that you've been able to take on over at Espresso Systems, how are you planning on deploying that capital?
Hiring, most of all. Yeah, there's a war for talent going on in the broader crypto sphere, which is a testament to how quickly the space is growing.
Jill Gunter, who is the Chief Strategy Officer over at Espresso Systems, joining us here today. Thanks so much for the time, Jill. We really appreciate it.